Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Hitcircle Podcast. It's me, Spaza, and today we are talking to a content creator on YouTube, Osu player, Twitch streamer, Osu historian. I mean, it's everything you could possibly need for an Osu player, and I'm talking to none other than Willy from Osu.
Hello everyone.
Hello, Willy. How are you?
Pretty good. This is quite the different format than people usually see me in, I guess.
Yeah, that's true, man. I was wondering how you're doing with the whole quarantine corona stuff. Because, you know, at least here in Italy, we still have to be inside all day. I don't know how it works over in the US. I was actually curious because I think different states have different laws over there.
Yeah, they have different laws. Where I am, we have to stay inside unless we have to go get food or something, something necessary.
Oh,
but
yeah.
some people are not exactly doing that, which, might be a little bit frustrating.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw it on Twitter. There are actual protests going on over there in the US. But I'm assuming that's not happening in your state then.
No, not near me.
Right, man, that's nice.
Hopefully.
So, I mean, as usual, we're gonna first talk about some Osu stuff, because, that's what we love. And then I'm gonna ask some personal questions. I mean, nothing too exceptional, so you don't have to worry. If at any point you feel you don't feel comfortable with responding, you can easily do that. Then I'm gonna have the subs ask some questions, which I have already compiled here. And lastly, chat is gonna ask some stuff. So it's gonna be fun, I think.
It's gonna be lots of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say I'm kind of excited because, as you know, I've been following your channel for a very long time, actually. I started in 2015. You may actually not know this, but my very first video I saw from you was your Sukla palette play, which,
that is a great video to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one of your most famous videos or anything, but that's kind of where I found out about you. And, thinking back on that, because I started playing around 2015, but I have done my homework and found out you have been playing since December of 2013. That's a long time, man.
Even longer than that, actually, like October 2013.
Yeah, and you've been active ever since.
Quite the ride.
Yeah. How did you find out about the game?
I found out through my friend Keru on Twitter, Keru. He plays Fortnite now and like Valorant and stuff, but he played OS back in the day. And I guess one day he was like, "Here, come on, you should really play the game, try it out." So I did one night, and I've never really taken a break since.
I'm amazed. I know most people just find out about Osu, for example, watching YouTube videos or stuff like that. I certainly did when I came across, I think it was one video about the Big Black, maybe Cookies' Play. I'm not quite sure about that, but I started around 2014, but I only started playing actively since 2015 because I was playing Team Fortress 2 back then.
Those were the days.
Yeah, man. You are obviously a very good Osu player, but it seems like right now you're focusing not only on playing but also making YouTube content. So me being a player and a content creator myself, I found something kind of strange happening on YouTube or social media in general, where if you start making YouTube content, you get more recognized for that instead of your actual skills. Like I've had people come to my stream not knowing that I was an actual player, like at 3 digits. I mean, right now I'm even further than that. I'm almost 2 digits, but ranking doesn't mean much nowadays. We will talk about that later. But do you feel like that has happened to you in any capacity? Like, do you think people know that you're actually a good player, or just know you as the content creator guy on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, people are, the majority of people are going to watch the actual content I make instead of the plays I do or things like that. So it's bound to happen anyway. But I think that there's at least a fair amount of people that are subscribed to me who do actually watch my plays. So I like to think that, you know, maybe some people know that I'm a player who can actually do stuff, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very strange because I remember back then your channel wasn't really. It was basically a normal player's channel where you will just upload your replays or plays, and then you evolved and started making actual YouTube content. So from that point of view, your oldest subscribers should know that you're an actual player, but maybe new people don't. I don't know. Your Cookiezi documentary certainly exploded and probably made a lot of people find out about you. Do you still receive comments on that video?
Yeah, I still get comments on that video all the time. And I think that some of the best comments are from people who don't actually know OS, and they come here and they're like, oh, this is just like this person from this game that I play, or this person from this other game that I play. And they're just sort of, you know, finding out about the game through that video that I made, which is kind of cool.
Do you get a lot of comments like, yeah, this is probably just memorized and stuff like that?
A few of them. I've seen them sometimes, especially on, like, you know, Cookiezi plays or things like that. People are like, there's no way that anybody could do that.
Yeah, especially on the first try. Come on, how many? I mean, that was certainly huge back when Ruruchi was playing and he got his double S on the big black. I mean, people were just calling it memorized, so not impressive, you know?
Yeah.
I've noticed something in your work. It seems like you take very little time to actually produce your videos, even when it's something as big as the Cookiezi documentary. I think you did it in 2 days or something like that. So, yeah. Like, that was insane because it took me so long to get all the information, to edit things out, and all of that for my Ruruchi documentary. I mean, in that case, obviously, you were the voice commentary, so I couldn't do that myself, but I mean, that's very insane. So I wanted to ask you, what's your creative process and how do you organize yourself when it comes to creating videos?
So, you know, every few weeks I try to make an actual video, and then in between I'll just upload some highlights from my stream as filler. But whenever I do make an actual video, I'll usually have, you know, a topic that I'll really sort of gravitate to, like maybe, you know, Cookiezi documentary, or like I just did a video on what PPV1 was. That's one of my favorites. I just sort of think of a topic like that, and then I'll sit down for just one night and I'll be like, okay, let me write out the script, let me record all the parts that I need, and let me edit it. And I just try and get it done all in one go instead of actually coming back to it every now and then. The Cookiezi documentary actually was pretty interesting because I was writing the script. It may seem like I finished it like really quickly, but I had that like on the back burner for a year or so, where I was just like, I really want to tell like the story of Cookiezi. So I was writing that over time. Yeah, it's not like, you know, it took the whole thing. It was just me writing the script, and I just sort of had it in the back. Yo, Nalian.
Thank you for hosting, Nalian.
Sorry to distract that. Yeah, I was writing it, and then just one day I was like, you know what, I think I have enough stuff, and then I recorded everything, and I just edited it all in one night.
Yeah, that's impressive. You know, I really take my time with editing, which sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I also get those moments where I get so much inspiration, I just work on something immediately. But you seem to do that quite consistently, which is pretty impressive considering the quality of your videos, especially so recently.
You know, think of a topic that really interests you. Like I really like OS history, and like looking back at, you know, all the stuff that I've experienced myself, you know, so it's really easy to think of something and just bang out a video about it.
So you prefer to make, I mean, obviously you prefer to make videos on subjects which regard Hosu history. Do you ever consider talking about newer players or stuff that's happening right now, or do you think there are enough channels doing that?
I mean, it's definitely a thing I want to do. Like, there's a lot of players that, you know, I had my Minute Legends series that I still want to pick up, but, you know, and I always get comments like, oh, why don't you do Vaxay? Why don't you do White Cat? Something like that. And they definitely do deserve their own, like, you know, Minute Legends or 15-minute documentary. But I think that the point of the Cookie Z or Wobblefulf documentaries are that, you know, their story is so long and it's still ongoing a little bit, and I just want a little bit of closure there, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe like when they quit, then I can tell like the full history of them.
Yeah, that's true, man. You know, it's funny you mentioned the Minute Legends series, because I was gonna talk about that right now. Because again, you have this series on your channel that's called Minute Legends, where, for those of you that don't know, and I hope you do know, because it's a great series, but it's basically those very short videos, 1 minute long, where you briefly talk about some old players who have left their mark in this game one way or the other, you know? And I was wondering, is that series aimed more towards new players who may not have this kind of knowledge? Or is it just to preserve history or bring those names back for us to get some very nice nostalgia out of?
I feel like it's definitely a combination of both, but when I started it, it was more to, you know, educate new players, because they might not know, you know, who Sayonara Bai or someone is who really did actually impact the game, you know, very greatly, especially when you think about Sayonara Bai. I can just go on and on about just like players that I know in my head, you know?
Yeah, there's so many good players and old players that people, even back then, they didn't know about. For example, I can think of, I think Oxycodon Yamemasita has been extremely underrated until recent times, like recent years. People have noticed how, you know, ahead of his time his speed was.
That's something you see a lot with players, even now. It's just people in their time are just sort of underappreciated and they don't really get the recognition they deserve. Like, you know, Rafis, especially when he was first coming up in the scene, everybody was saying, oh, he's just a farmer, you know, he can do 3-mod, whatever. But now we've realized that, you know, he's one of the greatest players to ever touch the game.
Yeah, I found that it's kind of like the curse of the #1 player. People may not know about this, but back in the day, HVic was actually considered a farmer to most people, because he was only playing DT. You know, Ruruchi was playing kind of everything back then, so HVic was called a farmer. Then Rafis came in and he became the farmer. It's almost like, yeah, whenever somebody gets #1, it's always kind of weird. The only time there hasn't been any complaints was when Cookiezi got #1 again, which I think was 2016.
Yeah, that's sort of like everybody already knows Cookiezi. They're already like, oh yeah, you know, he's this person. And sadly, it happened again. That, you know, people like Matthew, especially, who come up and then they have, you know, cheating allegations just because they're so good. And then that sort of, you know, depending on the person and how they respond to it, they can just take it like, you know, Rafis and be like, oh, let me start streaming and let me prove to everybody that I'm actually just a good person. Or, you know, you can take it like Matthew, and he's really put down by all the allegations and he quit basically for like 1.5 years or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder why that's the case though. Like, I've certainly been guilty of that myself back when Mafi got #1. I was actually kind of pissed because of the whole thing with Soturk's maps and all of that stuff. Only later I realized, you know, jump maps are still very fucking hard to FC, so, you know, getting #1 with those maps or with a different variety of maps certainly isn't something you should be upset about. And I found that now with White Cat, community has kind of changed in that regard. I don't see that many people complaining about him being #1.
Yeah, and I think it's also that White Cat, his agility, his ability to just hit like the craziest jumps is farther than I think anybody we've ever seen. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, also pushing limits of 3-mod more than anyone else, I suppose, at least in the aim department.
I mean, yeah, in the aim department, I think that there's still a lot of stuff that he could do. Like, he has really good accuracy on especially like OD11 stuff when you look at his 3-mod plays. But I wish he would do something more like Matthew or Phil's Delama did.
Oh yeah, Phil's Delama. I think I saw a tweet of yours where you compared Freddie Benson to Phil's Delama, meaning that they both got really underappreciated, I suppose.
Yeah, they're both well known for doing, you know, like Phil's Delama, I guess, you know, jump maps on 3-mod, and people really overlook like he was really good at speed. He's basically a very, very good all-rounder, but people never really think about that. And same thing with Freddie Benson.
Yeah, Freddie Benson, other than having insane aim and single top speed, actually proved to basically be able to do anything. So, you know, it's kind of weird that people didn't really know that until he came back now and have seen certain maps.
Yeah.
Do you think people pay more attention to just rankings and PP and don't really look at other people's scores outside of that? Like, for example, Freddie Benson, I mean, you would know he has very good scores if you bother to check or even check his tournament performances.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the type of person. If you're somebody like me who's very, you know, they've experienced the PP system and they're like, it means nothing, then you're going to look more into like the player and actually like what they've done and how good they are at tournaments and stuff. But when you're talking more generic, like person who just casually plays the game, they're probably just going to look at, ooh, this person just got 1,000 PP play. That's really good, you know?
Yeah, of course, man. You know, it's funny you mentioned the PP system because many people out there, including yourself, I mean, I think everyone really isn't satisfied with the current PP system. There's no way. And that will probably never happen realistically because you can't really make a perfect PP system. But since it's flawed in many ways right now, what are your thoughts on the new PP rebalance that's being worked on? And what will be your ideal PP system where, you know, it doesn't have to just value your single player plays, even if you want to add some elo points like tournament stuff? What's your best idea for that?
Well, starting with the first part, I think that the rebalance is actually really good. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter who are just like, oh man, it's terrible, this play gets nerfed, well this one gets buffed for no reason. And you know, it's not complete right now either, but I still think that in its current state it's at least better than the current PP system. I think that there's a lot of very, very underrated plays that get buffed in it, which is what I usually like to look for, that they're actually competing with, you know, the farm maps and whatever. And what I would want to see in a PP system, I think that it's better to keep it separate from sort of tournament and elo rankings and stuff like that. You know, there's a big difference between playing solo and playing tournaments. You know, it's a different mindset, it's a different feeling and everything. But I think if we keep trying to balance it and try and make it, you know, as even as possible, as we're at least attempting to do right now, and maybe, you know, in the future split it up into skills like how OS skills does.
Yeah, man.
Then I think that would be a really good system. Especially, you know, splitting it up would give people so many different things that, you know, they could focus on. And like, I want to try for the agility ranking, I want to try for the memory ranking, stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, you know, since the game has really changed a lot, like back in 2014 2015, ranking ups kind of meant being good in the sense that you could kind of play everything. Maybe more like 2013, 2014. I don't remember when the first farm maps really became prevalent in the game. But, you know, now there's so many skill sets, different maps, different goals one can set for himself outside of just ranking up. So, in your opinion, what are some of the best and worst things about OSU nowadays?
Some of the best things, I think, are the creativity that you see in all of the like different outlets, like storyboarding, mapping. I love seeing all the stuff like that. It's just some of the storyboards that people make are like, wow, I can't even imagine making that in a video editing program or anything. And they've done it in a game that has, you know, minimal controls over the transformations that you can do.
Yeah, although many storyboarders nowadays, I think, use external programs to do their stuff. Yeah. But, I mean, it's still very primitive in the editor.
I think that's still pretty impressive. And I guess the bad is that it's really not... I might get some flack for saying this, but it's not a rhythm game like it used to be. You know, you look back, even at 2015, when farm maps were already sort of like a thing, but you see like people like Azer and Happy Stick who were playing like these really, you know, interesting rhythm maps but now it's all just, the same 1-2 jump stuff. And people focus too much on performance points. I think that's probably one of the biggest detriments to the entire game right now.
Yeah, that I can definitely agree with that. And it's sad because, even though there are many, many maps that are being made that perhaps challenge the mapping meta in the sense that there's very strange patterns or, rhythmical choices, it's the farm maps that still get the most attention.
Mm-hmm.
Even though some of them may genuinely be copy-pasted, like the fiery ones. Which, by the way, I still cannot play. I don't know why people call them farm. Holy shit, man. I must be mad. I must be bad at aim to not be able to do those. But yeah, so since you are very fond of Hosu history, that really shows, definitely shows from your content, either documentaries, Minute Legends, but even your playstyle in a way, because you don't seem to really play many maps from today's meta or standards, if so to speak. So I was wondering, what are some of your favorite top players nowadays? And I'm not talking about the newer, I'm talking about newer top players, not the old ones like Cookiesy who are still active, so you can't cheat with that. And I also wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite maps from recent years? Because it really seems like you don't play them a whole lot, at least from what I could see.
Alright, well, do you mind if I open an Osu ranking real quick? I mean, just off the top of my head, some of my favorite players, especially like in the past year, like 2019, I would have to go with Bartek is up there. Arnold 24x24, he's definitely one of them. That's just like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
For like newer players. I mean, I don't know if Idki would count as a newer player, but I'd put him on there.
I think Arnold is actually a very old player too. Many people may not know. I think he plays since 2011 or something.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm just thinking of people who... Ooh, Badu. He's...
Oh yeah, he's definitely a new player.
Love Badu. And for maps, I can't really think of like anything I've played recently. I usually only like play a lot of newer maps whenever it gets sent to me by like a friend, be like, hey, try this out, or it gets sent to me on stream, something like that. So I really liked the professional box, like last map that he made.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's not as new. Another thing that isn't as new is the EP by Samish.
I will link those maps down there in the description for our YouTube viewers, by the way. But yeah, I mean, that's also a very good map. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of hard to answer this question, but I just wanted to ask you because I swear every time I see you on stream, you're just playing maps from 2015, and I keep wondering, does he know? And apparently you do.
If you ever want to come by and just like ask me an opinion on a map, I'll give it to you, because I've actually played like a lot more maps than people may think, just from like all different time periods. So who knows?
You also kind of take inspiration from old maps when it comes to your own mapping, even for the song choice. I remember the first Star map.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy older maps a lot better than the newer ones?
I mean, they're different kinds of maps. I can say that I don't really enjoy the farm maps of now that don't have any thought put into them, really, other than just maximize PP. But I do enjoy older stuff where, you can see a lot of passion put into it, and it's more about, having fun than really just like conforming or like making sure that it's, rankable with this or that, or that it's the new edgiest map around.
The new short map with 100 combo that gives 700 PP. Exactly. I think that thing was extremely critical maybe back in 2018, 2019. Now it's kind of slowing down a bit, I feel like. Maybe people got sick of it, I don't know. Like, the whole making the most farm map contest. It seems like it's going a bit slower now compared to before.
I mean, I don't really keep track of it, so I have no idea. It's all the same to me.
It's all the same kind of map, so there's no point in following that, I suppose.
It's like I'll hear about scores and I'll be like, oh, somebody just got 800 PP on this brand new map that was ranked 2 days ago. That's all I see. Just all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, for example, the best example I can think of is Chica. Like, I think it's the same map 5 times and it gives different amounts of PP, but it's basically the same concept where the intro is, you know, easy and then there's jumps at the end.
It's like, I don't know. It's really weird because I feel like, at least for me, there's a lot more farm maps being ranked because I'm just in the mindset of, like, you know, back in 2015, 7-7, if you remember that, got ranked. And everybody was so upset that the new highest PP play was on a TV size, like, farm map.
Yeah, I actually remember that. You know, it's fun. It's funny you mentioned that because nowadays 7 it's not really farm anymore.
Yeah.
Things have certainly changed.
Speed and like a bit of stamina in there.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting map. But you know, back then everybody was like, oh, it's only 58 seconds long with double time and this is the new top play in the game. This is ridiculous. And then we, you know, fast forward to now when this is just me making this up, but the 10 highest, you know, PP plays in the game are all the same map with 3 mod.
I mean, that's a possibility for sure. I remember when Cookiesy broke the PP barrier with Freedom Dive. I really didn't think there was gonna be anything higher than 800 PP scores, because, you know, to me that's like, you know, an almost double S on Freedom Dive HDHR being 800. How can you possibly compare that? But, you know, then mapping has evolved certainly to increase those numbers. Like nowadays you can get 800 even by playing Chica with DT only. You don't even need hidden anymore.
Granted, you know, that Freedom Dive play is almost worth 900 now, but then it's like there's still 900 VP plays that are still almost the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to 900 PP plays, I think we need to use either 3 mods when it comes to those short maps, or, you know, there are some maps that are worth 900 that are certainly hard, like Sunglow, for example. But, I mean, of course, I understand your point. Many of the highest PP scores are on short maps. Oh yeah, also 900 PP, no mod for Yomiuri Waxay. That's a very good example right there.
Yeah, it's very rare. I think there was a James tweet, that I remember from probably like a year or 2 ago, where he said that there's not really any more like challenge maps. Like, you know, back in the day, like 2016, even 2015, you would see like image material and time freeze. Those were the big things that everybody was looking at. They're like, yeah, let's try and get these FCs. But now it's just, you know, Chica, maybe, you know, Yomiuri, but you rarely see as much hype around stuff like that anymore. I
found that many people get hyped for some reason around those maps that are mostly jumps. Like, for example, oh god, how is that map called? The one from Mania. Hello, I walk away. No, Full Moonlight. Yeah, Full Moonlight. That map is basically, like, normally it will be considered a jump practice map, but now it's actually become doable for players. And, you know, even though it's not really that complex, because it's 2 bursts of very fast jumps, I think this kind of map, along with Galaxy Collapse, has become the new image material of those days, you know, where people look at them and they hope to see good scores on them. Maybe even Tsukinami it's being mentioned. I mean, yeah, that was certainly hype, but I don't think it's quite at that stage yet, where it's as hyped as something like Everything Will Freeze or perhaps image material. Yeah, I think Tsukinami, the hype was that, you know, it was going to be 1000 PP, whereas something like image material is like, that's just one of the hardest maps in the game, you know. Yeah. It's just that. Also, Road of Resistance Hard Rock, yes, it had some big hype, but then it you know, as players improved, it basically became just, yeah, it's a consistency map and there's a spike at the end. That's how that's become. Which, begs the question, how does player perspective change on maps based on how good people are? Because, maybe image material, it was impossible back then just because people weren't good enough, but now it's considered easy. So maybe in 5 years, Galaxy Collapse will be easy. What do you think about that?
I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's really fun, especially when you actually look into OS history, because then you can go back in the forums and you look at like when Big Black was being ranked, stuff like that in like 2011, where people are like, AR10 is impossible. No one's ever going to be able to read it. Stuff like that. But then, you look now and we have people who can actually almost read AR11, stuff like that. So you never know where the ceiling is going to be for skill.
Yeah, that's insane. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with how fast people improve, Like, to me, 600 pp is still a lot. But nowadays it's like, at my rank range, top 200, people just set a lot of 700 pp scores. And I just feel behind, man. But, one thing that's been very interesting for the OSU community recently has been the matchmaking, aka 1v1, where you use random map pools from tournaments. And you are certainly involved in that project. Would you like to briefly explain what it's about and what was your role in it?
Yeah, so matchmaking is an automated system that I and Anemic Witch sort of decided to work on. He prototyped a bot that was sort of like it a year or a year and a half earlier, and I sort of picked up the idea of, I was trying to make a ranking system for, if you remember, OS SQL. They were going to come back.
It was a thing back then.
Yeah, they were going to come back in 2018 or 2019, and eventually I just sort of gave up because nothing has happened on that since then. So I was like, why don't I just bring my ranking system and see if anybody actually wants to make something now? So with my math and his bot, we were able to actually make a matchmaking thing that people can play. They can 1v1 each other, and they can try and play for ranking as well, because there's ranked MMR in that.
Would you like to briefly explain how it works exactly? Like, if someone wants to try it, but they don't know what to do, what's their first step?
All right, so the first step right now would be join the matchmaking Discord server. We have this as a step just because it's to like verify people's identities and to be able to easily do stuff. But we're slowly eliminating the step. Once we have a website, we won't need a Discord anymore. You send, I think it's like verify or something, ! link, that's what it is, to MadeBot on Discord. Or is it in game? I forget. It's been a while since I've done this, but you link your account on OS, somehow. It has the instructions in the Discord, don't worry.
All right. I will, of course, link Discord in the description of this video when it's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And then once you're fully linked up and verified, you can go in game and send a message to MadeBot and say like ! What is it, queue or play, and you'll be put in the queue, the matchmaking queue, and it'll try and match you with somebody within your skill level that you can play a 1v1 against on a random map pool.
I think now that there has been a new addition where you can actually make 1v1 lobbies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before it used to have to go through mods. We used to have the moderators of the Discord used to have to create the matches on their own, pair people up. So we'd get questions all the time, like, can you make a match for us? And then we eventually decided to just fully automate it. So now you can go into one of the like bot channels and just type ! duel and then add whoever you want to do on Discord, and then it'll create a match for you too.
Yeah, I mean, many people maybe don't really try this kind of thing because they think it's something way too competitive, but actually now you can even just use it to organize friendly 1v1s with your friends. Like, that's what I've been doing for the most part. I I'm in a Discord call with some people, and one guy will say, yo, let's do a 1v1, and that's very fun, because then we just pick random maps. That's the best part of it, And this whole idea of matchmaking, I was curious about it, because for the longest time, one of your goals, and I don't know if it's still one of your goals, but you have said several times that you really wanted to get a profile badge.
Yes.
And it could have been certainly easier back in those days where tournaments weren't as established as they are now. Because now there's a whole tournament community, and there is D-rankers in any rank range. So, that can be very hard to do. Did you use the idea of matchmaking in order for people to maybe practice their consistency, nerve control, stuff like that? Or is it just to make an alternative leaderboard to the performance points we talked about earlier?
I think, again, it's both of those sort of things, because people, playing in tournaments is a skill. It's completely different from solo. You don't have like the nerves or things like that or at least not the same kind of nerves, I should say, when you're playing in solo. It's a different environment being in the multi-lobby, actually playing against somebody. So I think it's a really useful tool for practicing for tournaments and things like that. And it also is, a nice thing to have a ranking that you can actually focus on that isn't exactly just farming, PP as it is right now. It's just something different, a different way to play the game.
Do you think, we all know about OSU SQL. Maybe people may not know about it, but if I recall correctly, it was basically like the same thing as you're doing right now, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was almost the same thing. And there was, I think at the very end, they split it up into seasons. And at the end of the season, it was like the person who did whatever. You can look on Vilchku's profile right now. He actually has a badge from the first and only season that they ever did of it.
Oh, damn. Do you think... also SQL definitely died down, which is why you're bringing it back now in this new shape. Do you think stuff like this is bound to eventually end unless there is official support from the game? Like, do you think, for example, this could be an actual leaderboard in Laser, let's say? Or do you have plans on doing that? Or is it always going to be an external thing?
I think it's always going to be an external thing. I'm, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm like trying to think. Peppy said that he wasn't too fond of having like elo or matchmaking in the game, but who knows? Maybe it'll change on that. But I think at least for now, especially until we get him on board, it's going to have to be its own separate thing. And we're going to have to try and, bring people in, because eventually some people will be like, oh, that's a cool idea, but, I'm kind of bored of it. So we have a few things that we're planning. If I'll tease a little bit.
Ooh.
Let's say you had matchmaking for 2 players versus 2 players.
Oh, boy.
So
now that would be revolutionary.
Expect to see that somewhere in the future. Just, things like that to try and get people interested in matchmaking again.
Yeah, but it seems like the more we go on, the more Laser seems to be more open source, meaning that more people can make their contribution, whether it's new mods like Toho Osu, if you ever saw that, or other rhythm games even might be implemented in Osu Laser. So maybe, just maybe, there's a chance it could be an actual mod, an actual thing, the matchmaking. I don't know.
Maybe. It'll have to go through Peppy, probably, since he's the main dude who works on Laser and stuff like that.
Yeah, hopefully one day, that would be great to have another alternative ranking inside the game itself. Because then, even new players, I'm pretty sure newer players aren't really familiar with this whole OSU SQL matchmaking stuff. But if they see it inside the client, they will just be more inclined to try it. Perhaps.
And it's more accessible than, having to join a Discord server and link your account and stuff like that. It can all just be done in the client.
Yeah, and that's way faster and way better, I suppose. Tohosu, yeah, there's a lot of hype around that. I don't know, Like, I don't know why, because the original games are obviously better, but hey, who knows? Who knows?
It's like reverse CTB almost.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny you mentioned CTB, because I was looking the other day, Wobbuffwolf was practicing CTB, and you know, I've always been wondering, how can Wobbuffwolf still love this game as much as he does after 10, 11, 12 years? You know, it's insane how his mindset is always like he's finding out about the game for the first time.
He's always just trying to do whatever he wants, you know, playing all the maps in the game, playing all different modes, whatever he feels like doing. It's crazy how he can keep going.
Yeah. Speaking of which, who do you think is your inspiration when it comes to Osu? I mean, obviously, this is a very hard question. I wouldn't be able to answer with just one player. I could tell you, you know, as for speed, I really like Max, Ryuke, those people, consistency this and that. Who are some of your most great influence in this game?
I think some of my biggest would, of course, have to be Cookie Z, because I joined the game at like the perfect time, where the legend of Cookie Z, the great who just suddenly vanished, was, you know, alive and well. Because it like just happened right then when I joined. And I joined at like the perfect time to see, you know, Wobbuffwolf rising up and his YouTube channel sort of starting to get big and stuff like that. So I definitely look up to him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Another person who I don't think gets enough credit, who I would call an inspiration at least, is Clarity, Josh.
Clarity?
He's another YouTuber. Yeah.
Oh, I know Clarity, but yeah, go. Explain, I'm curious.
We were around like the same rank when I met him. We were like around 2000 or something, and I always set my goals to, you know, like try and be like him, and it's crazy how he plays. He just takes like 2 or 3 week long breaks, and he'll just come in the game. He won't be rusted at all. He'll just play a map, FC it, and he'll be like, you know what, that's enough for the game this week, and then he just leaves. It's crazy how he's able to do that. It's just something I've always looked up to.
Yeah, I never understood that either, you know. Maybe in the very beginning when I started playing I could take breaks, but nowadays if I stop playing for 1 week I can't aim 5 stars, man. Just like Vaxei. Yeah, that's actually true, you know. Vaxei doesn't seem to rust ever, but apparently he plays offline from what people have told me, but I mean, I don't know, it's all up to speculation really. Speaking of which, I think, do you think being a mysterious player, if so to speak, helps out your image in the community? Like, for example, you said the rise of Cookiezi and then he vanished. A very private person, he never showed his face, never showed his voice on stream. Do you think that, you know, being mysterious in that way somehow collaborates to the community being more interested in you as a player? Or as an entity, more like?
Yeah, I think the mystery surrounding people like, you know, I guess Cookie Z back then, and especially like Biko now.
Yes.
You know, Biko is the big mystery of the game. Nobody understands who he was, how he played, or where he is now. I think that, you know, that gathers a lot of people's attention, and they're like, I just want to know who this person, you know, was, who they are, things like that.
Yeah, even Vaxei to a certain extent, you know, he only really showed his hand cam and doesn't really talk on stream or use face cam.
And he doesn't even stream that often either.
Yeah, that's also a big part. And every time he streams, it's a legendary stream. You know, that's kind of insane, man. Same thing I think happened with Whitecat. He's still very private person. We barely know anything. But his case was even more mysterious because he came from a private server. He got banned. You know, that's, yeah. Very, very few people would believe his legitimacy back then. But now, you know, it's been very well documented, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So, you know, now we have talked about Osu for almost an hour, which is a long time. So I was wondering, you know, who is Willy outside of the internet world, and what are some of your other hobbies, for example, offline hobbies that people may not know about?
I mean, I'm a college student right now. I'm in my second year and I'm studying computer science. So I don't really have many offline hobbies, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also a college student, second year. I'm not doing computer science. Do you code by any chance?
Yeah.
Dude, so many people code, even Nalian codes.
You should get into if you learn a language like Python, it's almost like, I mean, I guess maybe it wouldn't help you, but it's almost like English, where you're just sort of writing and everything sort of makes sense. It's a good thing to get into, at least I think.
So you mean, I mean, you know, offline hobbies, I also mean stuff like cooking or stuff like that. You don't do none of that currently?
No, I mean, I can cook, but not well. I can't really think of like anything else I would do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that's normal. You know, being a college student, I certainly understand that free time is lacking. And if you are a college student on top of being an OSU player and a Twitch streamer and a content creator, yeah, very enough time to sleep, maybe, and that's a big maybe. So
I somehow find time to do, you know, that and watch YouTube videos and stuff. So,
oh yes, of course, man. There's a question about that later on because one of my subs got a very interesting take, but I will get to that later. You know, you show your face on stream. People know how you look like. You are definitely not a mysterious entity in the OSU community. You are everywhere, man. Like, you have collaborated on many videos, even on my videos, you know, back then with Hitcircle. Sorry, not the Hitcircle podcast. I meant to say the OSU player spotlights. Yes.
I mean, I guess now I collaborated on the Hitcircle podcast.
Yep,
so you could say that.
Yep. Now you definitely did. And you also collaborated on many commentary videos, and for example, top player lists and stuff like that. Do your parents know what you do online? What do they think of it? Because, you know, my parents are boomers. They don't really know what OSU is, how it works, what I do on my PC. Do they have any, you know, understanding of the game whatsoever?
Yeah, they have a little bit of an understanding, and they know about my YouTube channel and they know about Twitch, I think, and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool that you're doing stuff online and you're making a little bit of money." I think that's like the extent of it. They don't really, you know, understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think that applies to most people. The only person I saw that, you know, parents kind of followed in a way was Toy, but then again, you know, maybe I can ask him whenever he comes on the podcast. But yeah, many parents just go like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." So yeah, how's school going? Yeah, and you know, one other thing I've noticed about Twitch streaming is that it's very unfortunate. As you know, OSU is a very intense game, and you know, as much as you can train to stay consistent, sometimes there are those bad days where you just can't play or can't do well in the game, so you get tilted on stream. And oh my god, I do get tilted on stream sometimes. It's really bad after I look at VODs afterwards. Do you ever get mad on stream? And if so, you know, what is the best and worst thing about you think, as a player in terms of mindset?
Yeah, I get mad all the time. It's actually pretty funny because OS is like the only game that I actually legitimately get upset in. And I think it's because, you know I should be able to FC the 6-star map or whatever. I'm like, I know I should be able to do this. I've been doing this for almost 7 years now, you know? I think that's sort of what gets me so upset whenever I do, you know, tilt and underperform in the game.
Oh yeah, I guess... so that's the worst thing about your mindset, thinking, you know, I should be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had like a really bad mindset for the entirety, pretty much. I've played the game where I'm like, if I'm not FCing something with 99%, then I'm not doing good. And that's why you see my profile act is so high and I barely have any A's. I think at one time I had like 100 or something A's and I was like, that's not going to stand. And in a day, I just turned like 40 of them into S's.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that doesn't really sound too bad. I mean, I definitely see how it could be bad when it comes to pushing your limits, especially if you're doing speed. There's no way you're gonna have 99 on your first try and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't think many players nowadays have that kind of mentality, and that's kind of bad in a Rift game, you know? I also always strive to get 99 plus. But I think it's just a thing about old player mentality. Not really old, I mean, we are not ancient players, but, you know, classic player mentality, I suppose, instead of going for ranks.
You might also see in like some of my highlights on YouTube, or if you're actually watching my stream, I'll get like 99.5 or something. I'll be like, oh, that act is garbage. You know, everybody's like, what do you mean? You got 99? But in my head, I'm like, I should have gotten, you know, like 3 or less 100s on this, and I should have hit that one pattern better. You know, that's what I'm always in the mindset of.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do that myself, but it really only happens when I got, for example, a very good run on a map. There was this one map which is like 1k combo with DT. It's a classic map too, man. I can't even remember the name though. But basically I was assessing it and I missed at the very end. So I had the classic 99.91 score with 0 hundreds and 1 miss. And after that I have seen it with 200s and I was actually upset because I really wanted to assess it, or at least at best get 1 single 100. So getting 2 of them I was kind of pissed. But people in chat were still amazed because, you know, it was a 99.8 FC. That's
still the worst. You know, it's just the curse of the choke accuracy is always higher than the actual FC run.
Yeah.
It's just, that happens all the time to me.
Yeah. So in your opinion, your obsession with accuracy and perfection, I suppose it's your worst aspect when it comes to mindset. What's your best though?
My best is sometimes if I really want to score, and this can be good or bad, I will just keep trying that score. Like, even if, you know, I'm like, I'll get mind blocked. I know when I can stop to not get mind blocked, and I'll just go for it. Like, probably one of my best scores ever is joint struggle, and I tried at that for like 2 days straight. I wasn't playing much else other than joint struggle, and once I finally got it, I was like, yes. So that's definitely, you know, something that could be a bonus, could be a negative, who knows.
I mean, I think it's a very good mindset that many people have when they start playing, but then it kind of fades away because then you start overthinking about mind blocks and stuff like that. So yeah, being able to do
that might be where I'm a lot of my like anger moments come from, when I'm like, because I'll try them out and I'll be like, this is easy, I can do this, I know I can do this if I just keep trying. And then, you know, if I don't get it in the first, you know, day or whatever, then I'm like,
Yeah. You know, I found out that playing in the very beginning is actually better because you are just ignorant. Like, you don't know about the game. I didn't even know about approach rates and all of that. To me, it was just, oh, all right, this is DT. Then I FC the 10.3 and I didn't know that because, you know, to me it was just like, oh, this is a bit faster. And, you know, in the end, that's actually true. Like, that's actually true. It's just the same approach rate, just a bit faster. But after you start playing, you start overthinking, oh shit, this map is 9.3 plus DT. I won't be able to read that. Then you start playing with this mindset. It's kind of bad, man. So, yeah. I definitely like your way of thinking.
I think that a lot of that is a lot of the entire game, and actually like being good at it is understanding what you're looking at. And like you reminded me of that when you said, oh, 10.3, it's just, you know, an AR but faster. It's a lot of reading, especially, is just like being able to break up the patterns that you see in your head and just being able to digest them in a different way that's easier for you to understand.
Oh yeah, so
I think a lot of the game is just looking at stuff in a different way.
Yeah, that's a very good way of breaking down reading. I feel like most players nowadays actually struggle with reading because they get used to certain kinds of patterns.
Yeah.
Like, to me, 200 BPM, AR 9 or 9.1, that's not really dense, you know? But for many people, it actually is. Like, they struggle if it's not 9.5 plus. On 200? Really? Come on, man.
That's just them, getting too used to one thing, and they just need to play different maps and different things. And even if, I'm guilty of this, definitely playing a map and not doing good and being like, oh man, I can't do this. But you should really keep trying maps that are sort of like that until, you can gradually get better at different skill sets.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, I actually wanted to ask you, do you feel in any way limited when it comes to your skill set because you don't play as many new maps as people do? Because, obviously older maps are nice and are very good to develop a skill set. I mean, I think anyone would love to have the 2014 Cookiesy skill set right now. But, now limits are really reaching their heights. Like, you have so many spaced jumps, spaced streams, and those really can't be found in old maps. Do you think you are in any way limited by playing old maps in this sense? Raw skill sets?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the different patterns. It's like I'm not good at 1-2 jumps. I've never really been good at jumps like that good, but I'm at least better than I used to be. But I like the 1-2 jumps of today. It actually takes me like a while before I can FC something. So in that way, I'm limited in that. But then you turn to, old maps with like really awkward like spacing and jumps like that, and I can do things like that. So it really just depends on what you play. If you really want to broaden your skill set, things like that. Space streams, I think I've always been able to do space streams, so the space streams of today are just really easy for me still. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are definitely some very strange looking streams in old maps. If you compare them to Sidetrack Day, which is pretty linear, you can obviously do that.
Yeah.
Now, I have got some questions from my subscribers of the Twitch channel. And, this is a friendly reminder that if you want to have your questions answered before anyone else, and for sure, you can always subscribe to my Twitch right now. Especially if you have Prime, it's free. And anyways, let's read those questions. So I will save you the misery of having to answer things like, hey, when are you gonna make a documentary on White Cat or Vaxe? Because I did indeed receive those. But as you mentioned later, those players are still new, still going, still making history. You can't really make a documentary on them. Maybe one day when they quit.
Let me answer that a little bit more. Also, if any questions about videos, I don't usually know what video I'm gonna make in advance. I just sort of think of the idea on the day. I think I said this a little bit earlier, and then I'll just write the script and then just do the video. So I don't even know what video I'm gonna make like next week or something like that. So
yeah, one of the questions actually was, are you planning on making some big project? But I was gonna not read that, because now you just told me earlier that you get those moments of inspiration where if you really get a good idea, you just work on it straight away. So yeah, that you definitely answered that already. All right, so hello Willy, who are in your opinion some very underrated OSU players / Twitch streamers?
OSU players and Twitch streamers. For OSU players, there's a lot. There's a lot of people who don't get the attention they deserve, So it's a little hard.
Maybe we can split it in different categories, like underrated tournament players.
Ooh, okay. So underrated tournament players, I think I would go back to people like Freddie Benson, who are definitely very good at tournaments, but they just don't usually, get recognized for things like that.
Yeah.
Some actual solo players. I know that there's a lot. Man, I know too many people. That's the problem
that's
here.
very hard, man. Oh, Adam Kus. I mean, yeah. I don't know if he's underrated. He definitely doesn't get brought up as much as he should, because he has some very, very hard scores under his belt. Jordan the Bear. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. But guys, I'm asking Willy, not you. Damn it. Damn it.
As for Twitch streamers, I think I would go with people like Thoughtsicles, if you know Dong, the player.
Yeah, yeah, of course I do.
They play just all the time and stream all the time. It's very entertaining to watch, and they actually play some very interesting maps, things like that.
Any other streamers?
Any other streamers?
Yeah, any other maybe underrated streamers on Twitch, maybe from Italy? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm thinking.
Ah, yes, of course. Kane.
Oh, yes. I love Kane. I love Kane. Great mapper too, by the way.
Everybody, go subscribe to Spazza17 on Twitch so you can ask some more questions.
Not scripted. All right. Next question will be, do you watch other Osu content creators? And if so, what's your favorite?
Yeah, I watch some Osu content creators. I'm not big into, like, I guess a lot of streamers with, like, highlight channels. And unless, you know, they have scores that I'm like, ooh, I want to check that out. I'm more into, you know, videos that talk about, you know, like Osu stuff and like discussions that are going on. So I guess I'd go with Pishafat, even though he hasn't uploaded in a while. Yeah. I love watching his stuff.
I love his stuff.
I think Verto is really interesting to watch a lot of the time because he, you know, he talks about current events and things like that. So it's always cool.
Yep.
Beyond that, I'm trying to think. I mean, I said, I don't watch.
Charles made a good video, but
Charles makes a few good videos, but he's so rare that I don't know if I would really count him.
You know, there's that guy, oh god, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry if you're listening to this, but that guy who made the 0 BPM video, that mapping video.
I think I've seen Amo. Yeah, I watch a few of his videos sometimes.
Yeah, he actually makes great content. He's very underrated. Yeah. I mean, Mo, there you go. That guy, Mo, the 0 BPM video went viral outside of the Osu community because, you know, it was just general programming stuff. And so, you know, that video got really popular. But he actually has many, many interesting other videos that people may not have seen. So go check him out, guys.
Interesting, like mapping stuff, just like Pishafat.
Yeah, mapping, you know, it's almost like a completely different world from players. Like, I have no idea what happens behind the scenes of mapping, how incredibly hard it must be, you know? Even the editor is kind of outdated by now. It's 2020. It's been around for a while. Which, you know, begs the question, what will mappers be able to do with the laser editor? But, you know, that I can ask to a mapper, probably not you. But you are a mapper, you know, you actually made the first star, but yeah. And many other maps, by the way. No, I think you made more than that. Didn't you?
But they're not good.
I mean, you say that, but when you have old map inspiration, you know, you're gonna have some very cool linear patterns that you don't really see those days, unfortunately. But yeah, so go check out the first star. I will link in the description once again. Now it's time for chat to fire their own questions, so you're free to do so. And I will pick some of the best ones, I suppose. I mean, I hope I don't get stuff like, you know, when are you making a documentary on Willy? Towards Willy? Yeah, of course towards Willy, but I mean, it can be on both of us, really. This is kind of like the substitute of the advice section, so, you know, that kind of works. What players are overrated in top 100? Oh, what a toxic question. Aimbot, come on, man. Come on. I know you just want me to say Nalian so you can clip it, but, you know. Garfi? Oh, bruh. That's gonna take a while for you to be considered overrated, man. Alright. What do you think of Spazza? Bad question. What is both your opinions on the PP reworks? I think I mentioned it earlier, and, you know, maybe you weren't here. You can watch the VOD later, but I think, okay, Willy, you have a positive opinion on it, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with it. I'm open to change, and I think that a lot of the most underrated plays get weighted pretty appropriately. That's my opinion in a nutshell.
My opinion on it is, you know, it's way better than what we have now. And even if I get fucked to oblivion because many of my top plays are jumps, at least in my current top 100, many of my plays which are outside of my top 100 actually get buffed. So maybe there's no way I'm gonna stay at the same rank range, but it's not gonna be as bad. And I think many people don't know this. Like, they look at the website and think that's their PP, but that's only their top 100, you know? So who knows how many underrated players are gonna rise up for real. And yeah, I will change the PP system right now. I really don't care. Like, to me, it's good enough. But I mean, of course, we have to kind of work slowly and make sure everyone is satisfied with it as much as possible. DT streams meta will suck. I mean, why do you say that, you know? It all depends.
I mean, it's not just DT streams. I mean, you look at somebody like Wubblefulf, whose top play is going to be almost, what is it, the Kirby Mix compilation. Like, that's...
Yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like that is what I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm you know, even speed players right now, as buffed as they've got, there are so many underrated players still in that regard. Even, for example, Matrix. I wonder how he will end up with DT HR streams. Very unique skill set. If you could change something right now on the Osu stable client, what would it be? I don't want it to lag anymore. It's 2020. Can we maybe do that? You know, that would be ideal to me.
That's very true.
Do you have anything similar?
I would change how Osu keeps deleting my local scores every single week. That would be really cool, because it never happened to me before. I saw this on Twitter. I think it was like Epiphany or somebody who posted on Twitter, like, or was it Amelia? They posted like, retweet this if your local scores just keep getting deleted all the time. And I hadn't experienced that until like last year. So when 5 years worth of my scores were just deleted one day, and they just kept getting deleted like every single week, and it hasn't stopped since then. And I don't know
I have no idea what causes that. That's something I would like to know as well and possibly have it fixed, but yeah.
No, wait. Osu wasn't crashing though. I'm sorry, I'm reading chat. I'm cheating a little bit.
No, it's fine.
It was literally just, I would close Osu normally. OBS would close normally. Everything would close normally. But I think it was after I was playing a map where like it couldn't... You know how sometimes you'll play a map that's unranked and it'll be like, we couldn't generate the proper score for this. It'll bring an error in like the bottom right
stuff
corner
like that.
I think something like that happened.
Yeah,
and
I also
just, like, completely corrupted my database or something.
Yeah, I don't understand why sometimes I don't do anything. I just open the game and it says, don't change your map sets manually and stuff like that, you know? Like, don't go in your maps folder. Like, you know that notification, right? Everyone knows that. But I haven't done shit, Peppy. Alright.
Hopefully everything's fixed with laser. We'll see.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. I wonder when is that really gonna be the main client? You know, that's the big question. Because when it comes to Osu standard, I think it's mostly done, but they are remaking all modes really. So that's what's taking a while.
2015. That's when it'll happen.
Oh yeah, that's true, man. That's true.
Mark my words.
Yes.
If laser isn't done by the end of, what was it, 2018 or 2017, then I'm quitting my position.
I'm quitting dev. Alright. Do you think laser will keep score V2? If yes, do you think they will kill the player base? Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, sorry, I will let my guest speak first.
Pepe has said that he wants, like, not score V2 exactly. He's very, very picky about the wording, because score V2 is different from the, quote, standardized scoring that's in laser right now. He wants the standardized scoring, which is when it caps at 1 million. He says, like, there's no changing. That will be a part of the game. But he hasn't really decided on what he wants to do with, like, you know, all the previous scores that exist right now, since they're not standardized, and you can't really do that unless you have a replay for the scores. He's just sort of kicked the can, you know, down the street for that, but just stuck to his guns and said that he's going to keep standardized scoring.
Yeah, you know, it's actually curious. Oh, no, sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
I don't know if it'll kill the player base, but I think that it'll be very, a very different atmosphere for people like who actually try in the score ranking, like Lucky or Momo, people like that, you know, because then it's all capped at 1 million. So what's the point? I had a tweet the other day where I was like, can't wait for Score V2 to become a thing, and then nobody plays marathons anymore, you know?
Oh yeah, many people do that for score farming. Actually, probably 80% of people do it for score farming. It's not really reliable to play those kind of maps. If you're talking about marathons, as in, you know, 15 minutes plus,
yeah,
then for sure. There is the only kind of farm map I can think of will be that compilation of spaced streams. Oh God, how is
Streams
that?
compilation?
Foreground Eclipse.
Oh yeah.
Like, sorry, I don't remember the exact name, but you know, you get it. It's basically just spaced streams, and then at the end there's some jumps. But yeah, and I mean, unless you're Idki and you're crazy, so you have seen all the because maybe, then of course no one is gonna play marathons. As for my opinion on it, I mean, Score V2, I think people adapted to it because of tournaments, but it's still very complicated to play, for example, slider heavy maps that rely on the lack of accuracy in that department. So I'm not sure how that's gonna be handled.
Sorry to interrupt again. That's one of the things that I don't like. The way, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that Laser has it now is if you hit a 50 on a slider, it'll break your combo, which I really don't like because it doesn't make any sense. If you hit a 50 on a normal node, it doesn't break your combo. So why, when you hit a 50 on a slider? And things like that, like tiny things that really change gameplay.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard to get used to if it ever goes live. If you get 100 on a slider, it counts as 2 100s. I mean, that kind of happened. No, it doesn't really happen on Score V2 because, you know, it just applies to how you hit the slider in the beginning and at the end. But, you know, one interesting thing is that many people may not know about this, but inside the client itself, right now, OSU, stable, cutting edge, you can try it. If you hover to Score V2, it says something like, you know, scoring for the new OSU or something like that, you know? Like, if you hover on mods in your mod selection menu, you get something like Zoom for DT, but that's what you get for Score V2. Like, it says it's an alpha version or something. But yeah, you know, it's a very old... I don't think it's been updated in a long time. Right now, it should probably be called something like, this is the scoring that's used for tournaments. Try future scoring system. Oh yeah, basically, yeah, that. What do you think of the cinema mode? Okay, I think we are out of questions if that's what you're asking. I don't think there's very much to say other than you can look at storyboards. All right. So I would like to, before giving you the word for the ending of the podcast, I would like to, you know, thank you for coming to the podcast. Thank you for sharing some of your thoughts with us today. And I would like to make an announcement, surprise announcement, even for Willy.
Ooh, I didn't know about this.
Yes. And I mean, I know by the way he's saying it, it seems like he knows, but trust me, he doesn't know. Basically, tomorrow I'm gonna upload a very huge video, almost 1 hour long, on my YouTube channel, and Willy is actually part of it. What could it possibly be? It's the top US players of 2019, baby. We are back and we are bringing back the top player videos. I have worked with the American community and I'm glad to announce it's been done. And it's very long, very awesome. So if you want to check out those players, those sick players who have set so many scores, you can do that tomorrow, 21 UTC on my YouTube channel, Premiere. So, you know, make sure to be there. Especially for the Willy commentary, by the way, which is where he contributed the most, I would say. And being one of the only ones with a decent mic doing it. So thank you. I didn't have to equalize your audio, which was definitely great for me from an editing standpoint. So, you know, again, you can since we are ending the podcast, this is usually what I do. I just let the guest promote anything you want from your YouTube channel, Twitch, Twitter. I mean, obviously, I will link those down there in the description. And if you have any projects that are currently in the works, you can maybe promote it now. So, you know, your word, Willy.
Go watch me on YouTube. Except everyone here probably already knows me from YouTube. Go watch me on Twitch.
Oh yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. The good thing about this section is that it's gonna go on YouTube. So maybe people on YouTube, from my side of things, my subscribers may not necessarily know about you. So, you know, definitely go check his YouTube channel if you want to see some commentaries regarding also history, the past and the future. And oh, there we go, twitch.tv/Willy with three L's.
Because I still can't get 2 L's. Twitch is keeping it from me.
Alright, guys. Well, I would like to once again thank Willy. Thank you guys for coming into this podcast. If you want, you can join my Discord server to know when I'm doing the next podcast. Subscribe if you want to support me, the podcast, and have your have your questions answered by our guests. And Willy, thank you. I will see you guys next time.